Yeah, I know. I tried to make this video yesterday, and two things happened. The first thing that happened was I procrastinated. I really like when the sun is shining into this room. First of all, aesthetically, I think it's pretty cool. And second, whenever the sun is shining into this room, I just feel like God is with me. Yeah, we're gonna get right into it today. I just feel like God is with me. So, whenever I'm feeling doubt while I'm speaking, it eases that a little bit. And the second reason I didn't film the video is actually more important than the first. Or equally as important, let me say. Because the other day I posted a video, and the video got a pretty good response. Both of them actually. And I highly appreciate that, by the way. But honestly, that response gave me a lot of validation. Like with every compliment and every like, every comment, and every reassurance that I got, I felt a little bit better about myself. And one thing that I recognized through it was that not only did I feel better about myself, I started to forgive myself a little bit more for my mistakes that I made in the past. Because it gave me more hope for the future. And I think a part of forgiving yourself for your mistakes in the past is definitely having hope for the future, but it definitely shouldn't be predicated off your accomplishment. You should forgive yourself because you're a human being. Not because now you're accomplishing something. That's actually, not forgiving yourself for your mistakes in the past is definitely a form of insecurity. And I seen someone say the other day, Healthy Gamer on YouTube, if y'all don't watch him, his channel is really good. Healthy Gamer said, people try to fill their life with material things and accomplishments to get over their insecurities. But that's actually narcissism. And I don't completely understand what narcissism is, but that sounds right to me. That looking for something outside of yourself to make you more secure in yourself is definitely not the way to go about confidence. And in relation to what I'm saying, to forgiving yourself. Forgiving yourself and confidence should be something that's intrinsic. And that you just find within yourself and not the outside world. It's good to hope for the future, and you could find reassurance in the outside world to further promote your hope for the future, but shouldn't be predicated off that. I say that to say, when I came to make a video, I was setting up the camera, and I already knew that the video that I was trying to make was really coming from a place of ego. And I'm gonna keep it a buck, yo. My ego is like through the roof. Like, I got a real need for validation, and I acknowledge that. And I try to put it aside and be confident without it, and I try my best not to feed it. Of course, your ego is not something that's just completely terrible and that you should neglect, that has utility and God gave it to you for a reason. But you shouldn't approach a situation fully with your ego, right? So I didn't make the video. First of all, the sun set. I was procrastinating. And also on my intuition, God had told me, take what you're doing a little bit more seriously. I started to get in this mode where I thought, yo, I could just set up this camera whenever and just start talking. But it might be that simple for other people if they did it, but for me it's not. For me it's, I have to really be in a mode where I could just speak and my thoughts flow and I'm able to be cohesive and eloquent and, you know, just coherently convey whatever I'm trying to speak on. And I'm not feeling like that every day. And I tried to force it just so that I could get a video out and get a little bit more validation. I'm going to acknowledge that. Because I feel like if I lie to myself and lie to y'all and act like that's not the case, I'm not being honest like the goal of this channel is. So that's why I'm filming a video today. To make things simple. Something else I want to acknowledge is I might go against what I said starting in the first video and pretty much every video since then, that I'm not gonna make any cuts during these videos because I want them to be authentic and organic, but I realize these videos do stretch out a little bit long. And the pauses are cool, I like the pauses, and several other people told me that they like the pauses as well. But I really do want these videos to be a balance of authentic and digestible. My words is always going to be authentic, but some of the pauses are going to be cut out. Because when I have the intention of keeping the pauses in, I indirectly put myself in a position where I don't give myself enough time to think and I start forcing words. But I would rather give myself all the time to think. I don't care if I gotta sit here for 10 minutes and get the right words out rather than speed through the process and short y'all and short myself. I think that's unfair to me, unfair to y'all, unfair to the truth. It's just not right. So there's gonna be some cuts in this video. And it's a good thing because I'm gonna really get to take my time. And all my thoughts is gonna be super organic and well thought out. All of my thoughts are gonna be well thought out. That's really redundant.
Hi, my name is Chandra. This place is Urban Sushi and Kitchen Hall. Our address is 4508 Walnut Street, West Philly. Thanks for coming. Try our food.
What did you say this one is called?
Taco.
Taco.
Taco snuffer.
I'm gonna try it. It's really good.
Thank you.
No problem. What's this on the outside?
This one, this seaweed.
Seaweed.
Yeah, seaweed and I fry. Tempura, yeah.
So you made this? You made this up?
Yes.
This is really good.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm telling you.
Thank you.
All right.
It's very popular now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This place is gonna get very popular. I'm telling you. You're gonna do really good here.
Yeah,
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Devin. Halo semua orang yang ada di Indonesia. Saya berada di Urban Sushi Philadelphia. Jangan lupa datang kemari jika Anda pergi ke Amerika.
So the first thing I want to talk about and I might have talked about this before, is the reason I'm making these videos. Or let me say another reason I'm making the videos. You know, art these days does not reflect our times at all. And I think, I don't know, that might be a product of censorship. It most likely is a product of censorship. But it also has to be that we're misguided. There's this thing that I do where I dumb down my thoughts because I feel like they might be too complex. And not to say that anybody on the other side of this camera can't understand them, or behind this lens can't understand them, and I'm just some genius. But the problem with all of this is, if you ever see a little kid speaking, they constantly ask why. Why? You answer their question, then why? Then why again, once you answer again. And that's because every question has another why within it. And that's really how my brain works. Every time I have a thought, there's another thought within that thought, and a thought within that thought. And I could sit here and really talk about that, but we would really just sit here forever. So sometimes I'll be having to put a leash on certain topics and certain points that I'm trying to make. But I think I'm going to ease up on that leash a little bit and let the thoughts flow freely, because that's really where the gems come out, and that's where my individual genius comes out. You know, everybody is a genius in their own right. And to dumb down your thoughts and to dim your light a little bit for the sake of other people understanding you really is dismissing your genius, because we're all unique. We all have a completely personal, one in a billions life experience. So our perspective is completely different from anyone else's. It can't be replicated ever. With every single human being that's ever existed, you cannot be replicated. Your thoughts can't be replicated, your ideas can't be replicated, your perspective cannot be replicated. So it's never worth it. It's never worth it to suppress your thoughts and your ideas. So art doesn't reflect the time, right? You know, it should be acknowledged that this country is in a very vulnerable political situation, economic situation. And I always try to stay away from politics because I feel like I have no power in them and I don't understand them. And frankly, I just haven't done my research or tried to understand it. But now it's come to the point where it really just can't be ignored, because it's affecting everybody's day life. Everybody's everyday life. And to ignore it, to me, is being very irresponsible and very careless. Especially as a man, being that you're supposed to be protecting the people that you love. And you're responsible for the provisions in your family. To ignore that is just to be ignoring life. And we all out here struggling. But if you was to listen to the radio or watch certain people's vlogs and YouTube and streams, you would never guess that. Yo, you would honestly watch that and think that there's nothing going on at all. You would think that we live in a perfect world where we could even afford to be careless. And that's not me knocking nobody. I know everybody got to come out here and get their money, but there's not even any balance. It's like 99.9% the carelessness. And then you'll see a couple people who care and a couple people who are acknowledging it in that 0.1%. But the thing is, when you go outside, when you interact with people, when you're by yourself, and when you're scrolling on social media, everything besides the art is showing that the whole world, or let me say the whole country, because Americans found a way of making America the whole world, is crashing down, right? So why isn't the music reflecting that? Why isn't pop culture reflecting that? So for me, I'd like to reflect the prevalent human experience in this country and just in general. And I would also like to speak to people as people, divest of all the needless and extra attributes, for lack of better words, that we have attached to the human experience. And to make that make a little bit more sense, I'm talking about things like money, careers, 401k, whatever that is. Like, you think about it, we really base our whole life around money and a career, and that's our entire life path. But life existed before money and a career, before any currency, before any trade system. Maybe there was already a barter system between Adam and Eve, I don't know. Nah, they was definitely trading something. But but this stuff has tainted the human experience so deeply that we forget that there's even life outside of that. And every time I sit in front of this camera, the meds that I try to get in is one of forgetting the system that exists outside of here. I'm also thinking of a system that exists in here and here, within all of us. That's what I'm trying to talk to when I'm talking to you. I'm trying to speak to you as a human, stripped down, raw. Think about all the things that on a day-to-day when we're moving around, we just dismiss. And I don't know what we dismiss it out of. Fear, carelessness, incompetence, forgetfulness. I don't know what it is. But I want to read y'all something. And I think what I'm about to read is pretty important. This is from an Instagram page called Simple You Grow. It says, people are strange. They'll lose their minds over a delayed train, snap over a slow barista, let a spilled coffee ruin their day. But when it comes to the big stuff, staying in the wrong job, letting their dreams die quietly, wasting years on autopilot, nothing. No urgency, no reaction. We treat small problems like emergencies and real emergencies like background noise. Why do we do that? I want to acknowledge that she said staying in the wrong job. I know I just talked about careers, right? But forget that she said staying in the wrong job. When you're at a job, you're spending your time. Time is the only resource that you have in this world. Anything else that you got falls within time. When you're making money, you're giving your time. Time is the only resource anybody has. So what I'm trying to do in this channel is give y'all a second to see that the small things are small, and maybe for a second we should really think about the big things. The big things that are always in the back of your mind that cause all of your anxiety, that when you lay down in your bed to sleep at night, it's what keeps you up. When you going about your day, it's what causes a little bit worry, but instead, I'm going to say a little bit, it's a lot of worry, but since you running around all day, doing God knows what, things that really have no meaning to them, that was sold to us as meaningful, you seem to forget. We seem to forget. Because the speaker know better than the listener. I'm just like that. I've been getting better lately, trying to think about the big things in life. I think that's what the art should be doing. Art should connect to human beings. I think what art should do is to provoke you in a way that it might cause some type of conflict within you, where you have to confront yourself. Where you have to confront yourself. But on the other side, art could also comfort you in knowing that this person who's creatively expressing himself is going through a lot of the same things that I'm going through, and you won't feel so alone in this world. Because something that me and my homie Junior was talking about not too long ago is that even if you got 100 friends around you, even if you got a whole family that loves you, at the end of the day, we're all alone. You alone in your head. And we all live in our head. So yeah, these people might keep you company, but you just processing all the information that they projecting from themselves, and you understanding it from your perspective of this world. So really, no matter what, we're all alone. And I think from time to time, art shows you that even though you're alone, you're still connected. But think about what we be consuming today. And I want to always say the speaker is no better than the listener. Yo, I be listening to all of these rappers, bro. Not drill music. I used to listen to drill music. I kind of stayed away from that because it's too flagrant. It's too blatant what's going on in that music. But that art doesn't talk to my soul. It's art, don't get me wrong, and a lot of them guys are talented. And it has its place, but it shouldn't be owning 99% of what's going on. Because you got to think about what that type of art represents. That art is lacking one fundamental thing. It's lacking the fundamental thing. And I'm talking about mainstream rap and anything else that's heavily pushed on us from streamers online. And I'm not hating. I'm just speaking the truth. I'm just speaking what's right in front of me. All of that stuff is lacking God. Just straight like that, it's lacking God. What place does God even got in that? And morality depends on God. Love depends on God. God is absent in all of that. So automatically, morality and God are out the window. Trouble getting in the gym. What I'll tell you is, stop trying to think your way into that decision. Don't get me wrong, you gotta prime your mind to be able to get in here. But one thing that I've recognized in myself is that energy comes from your heart, it don't come from your brain. Your brain is to compartmentalize your thoughts, get things in order. But all the energy you need to carry out everything in life and to live this life properly comes from your heart. Energy and virtue both come from your heart. So honesty, courage, patience, kindness, they all come from your heart. Your brain is there for your thoughts, it's there for your ideas. Energy and virtue from your heart. So start looking in the right place, open your heart, open, cleansing your soul. And I think a lot of this gets easier. Like right there, the last 2 reps, I didn't have them, but Allah had them. I just looked into my heart, boom, boom, got the energy to bust them out. To be honest, I had more, but I just didn't try hard enough. The next set, I was saying that rather than the prevalent art today being based off God, which morality and love depend on and are synonymous with, they revolve around money. Quincy Jones said it best. Quincy Jones said, when money talk starts, God leaves the room. And he was talking about specifically in creativity. So all of this work that they putting out, that they only concerned about money, God is absent in that. And God is the basis of life. So what does that tell you about that music and that art? That expression. That stuff is the opposite of life. It's lacking life. It's lacking substance. And we consuming that first of all, in masses and at a super high volume. We be scrolling through our phone 8, 9, 10 hours a day. Just consuming that. So of course you wouldn't be fulfilled. It's completely lacking substance. And sometimes I really sit here and I ask myself, how we even let it get that far? Yeah, how we even ever let it get that far? Like, you gotta really think about it. It's not like this was something that was discreet. We listen to music that encourages our people to kill each other. And it's sad that I be straying away from these topics because I don't want to be portrayed as some type of Dr. Umar or nothing like that. So what? You trying to stay away from the truth? You trying to stay away from what's right? Like, I'm guilty of that, and I should be ashamed of myself, for real. But it encourages our young men to kill one another. It degrades our women. It makes us hate ourselves. It makes us worship money. I want y'all to think about something real quick. I'm going to come back to that. Every holy book speaks about idol worship. Idol worship is the highest of sins. Associating anything with God is the highest sin. Alright, so when we think about idol worship, we always equate that to somebody sitting in front of a statue and praying to the statue. That's not the only form of idol worship. I want y'all to think about, if you want to recognize what it is that you worship, think about what's the first thing you think about when you wake up, the last thing you think about before you go to sleep, and the thing that you think about at the highest frequency in between. I'm going to keep it a stack. For me, it's money. I think about money all day. I think about money problems. I think about things that I want to buy with money. Think about what I could do with money. Think about how I'm going to make some money. So what does that tell you? I think about money a lot more than I think about God. That's worship to me. So automatically, you committing the highest sin. You associating something with God. The first thing you think about when you wake up should be God. Niggas be talking about chase a bag. Niggas say Bismillah first. It really seems like we worship the things that we ask God for more than we worship God himself. Because the only time that we present ourselves to God is, at least for me, let me not speak for everybody else, is, yo Allah, I need. Yo Allah, thank you for this. Yo Allah, if this is not right for me, then please take this away. And granted, you're supposed to go to God for that type of stuff. But since, like, when do we go to God just for the sake of him being God? And I should have prefaced this video by letting y'all know this topic could go anywhere, because I'm letting my thoughts run freely. I'm not about to put myself in no box. But at what point do we just go to God and just acknowledge him and praise him for being God? So I was talking about how art really revolves around money. And to me, it's just really dismissing the human experience. But that's really our entire society. Our entire society is dismissing the human experience. It completely misses the mark on the fact that people have emotions. People have dreams, people have a soul, people have a spirit. And let me not say that it dismisses it, it actually manipulates that against us. And like I said, I stay away from all the politics and all the controversial things, but I'm about to take the cap off for all of this, because to me, that's withholding the truth. And I'm not saying everything I say is the absolute truth, but it's at least my truth. Or my version of the truth that I observe in this world. So I want my space, my channel, when y'all come here, for my self-expression, to reflect an authentic, accurate, raw human experience. And maybe to provoke your mind for a minute, where you confront yourself and acknowledge yourself. And hopefully, if you worry about certain things that seem to be dismissed these days, that you could find some comfort here, knowing that there's another person and a whole bunch of other people that are experiencing the same thing. So even though you're alone, I'd like a place for everyone to be alone, but with people who acknowledge that, and in this physical sense, acknowledge one another. I want y'all to test something out, and this is a little bit off to the side. Next time you're walking around, just make eye contact with people in the street. Make eye contact with other human beings. And look how quickly everybody looks away. I don't understand that. Why is everybody so scared to look at one another? It's actually a little bit weird. Every single person is a unique experience within themselves, so why would I not want to look at you, at least for a second? You know what somebody told me before? Somebody told me, because there be particular individuals in this world, I don't stray away from eye contact, but there has been people who I struggle to make eye contact with them. And looking back, I understand this because I knew that that person was seeing me. And they were really looking at me. And they wanted to understand me. And I didn't have enough resolve within myself to look this person in their eyes, because like they say, the eyes are the windows of the soul. And I just felt like if I look this person in their eyes, they're really gonna see me for a second. And if you're not happy with yourself, and you don't have a confidence instilled within yourself, and you don't have that resolve within yourself, you wouldn't want that other person to see inside of you. So my theory is, that's the reason everybody be looking away so quickly. Because most people don't got no resolve within themselves, and they don't want nobody to see them. As much as everybody beautifies themselves and, patterns themselves up to go outside, don't nobody really want nobody looking at them. They want people looking at them, but they don't want people looking at them. I don't know. I wonder what the world would be like if everybody just looked at each other for real and allowed other people to look at them. Next thing I want to talk about, I low-key want to do a little full loop back to the beginning when I said yesterday I was approaching the video with a lack of sincerity. The word is sincerity. And when I thought about that, it just got me thinking about that word in particular. You know, we take words very lightly, but words, when you take them seriously, carry a real energy. Like, there's a form of communication where you could speak to someone and you mean every single word, and you could communicate your ideas so well that they get it down to the T. And there's really good orators who are able to do that. And the reason they're able to do that is because they take their words very seriously. A word that, I'll give you all an example. Think about the word unconditional. The word unconditional is so serious. The word infinity. Infinity is never ending. We can't even fathom that. Unconditional means that under no condition. Like when people talk about unconditional love. Under any condition, this person loves you. And of course, there's certain cases where it doesn't exist, but people talk about a mother's unconditional love. Most people's mothers really love them under any condition. It doesn't matter. Bro, that's something so serious to me. But back to the word sincerity, I only say that so y'all can understand where I'm coming to the point with the word sincerity. Sincere. When I want to get in front of this camera, I want to be as sincere as possible. Because, like I said, I got a huge ego and I got this burning need for validation. Validation that I feel like I lacked in my past. And the last two videos, which I'm proud of how they came out aesthetically. And I'm proud of the things that I spoke about in them. Then people come and compliment me, and I really take those compliments to heart. Like, I genuinely appreciate them, but even past appreciate them, I value them. But if I value the compliments, a day that somebody comes with some criticism, and even past constructive criticism, some criticism that's going to be true but hurtful, it's really genuinely going to hurt me. It hasn't happened yet, but it's bound to happen if I'm valuing the compliments like that, right? But even past how some criticism would adversely affect me, it's about how I approach the craft. If I approach it with the intention of acquiring some validation, it completely compromises my honesty and my sincerity. So it got me to thinking, maybe the best way to go about this is to ignore compliments and for people not to give me compliments, and only let me find my validation from myself and from the work itself. Because sincerity within a person is so important, because you're really not a complete person without it. The only real life is an honest life, is a sincere life. What I try now, when I'm present, is to mean every single word that I say, and not just say things for no reason. And every time I sit in front of this camera, every time I stand before God, anytime that I speak to another human being, I try my best to be as sincere with them as possible. And I'll tell y'all, for me, how I achieve that. I think the only reason somebody wouldn't be sincere, or one of the reasons somebody wouldn't be sincere, is insecurity. Okay, so how do you get over your insecurities? You embrace them. So anytime I stand before God, I stand before God with my mistakes, and my flaws at the forefront of my mind. At least I try my best to. I used to have this problem, and I also want to acknowledge this is not me putting out to the world that I pray, but I'm just using it to make a point. I used to have this problem where I couldn't connect to my prayer. And I found out that the reason was I used to always try to stand in front of Allah as some pious individual. And not to say that I'm the worst person in the world, but I'm flawed. And God knows that. You can't hide nothing from God. So now when I stand in front of God, I really connect with Him. When I stand in front of Him with all of my flaws, all of my mistakes, all of my sins, more than all of my praise for Him. You know, it's unlimited praise for God, but stand in front of God with your flaws, with your mistakes for real. Because I was thinking about the sincerity and my remorse for the mistakes that I've made in my life and the wrong that I've done by people and the insincerity that I've showed people and my ulterior motives that I've had while dealing with people. And sometimes I stand in front of God and I apologize for that. And I express my guilt. But I ask myself, is the way that I'm approaching it selfish? Because if I wasn't feeling that guilt, if it wasn't weighing down on me, would I feel remorseful for the way that I dealt with that person? Or for the way that I conducted myself with that person? Or the way that I affected that person? If I wasn't feeling anything on the inside of me, would I be remorseful? And I don't know. I really don't know the answer to that question. But I think that's the only sincere form of repentance. If it's not about you and it's genuinely about the fact that you did the other person wrong and that you forsake God by doing the other person wrong. Insincerity to me, if you're just an insincere person, you put a film over your entire life. And understand what I mean by film. You're not living life in its raw form. A part of being a sincere person is being yourself. Completely being yourself, despite the consequences. You know, for the sake of their comfort, we lie to the people that we love a lot about who we are. And our beliefs. And our perspective on this world. Because we don't want to cause too much friction and we don't want to cause too much conflict. So we settle for lying. But one thing that I truly believe is that if you really love somebody, love at its rawest form, you cannot lie to them. You can't lie to them because you're going against reality at that point. How are you going to stand in front of that person and not speak the truth to them every time you speak to them? But then on the other side, what if that truth makes them so uncomfortable and you elicit some negative emotion in them and you cause them some grief? Maybe you're being selfish at that point. Maybe I'm being selfish at that point. By speaking the truth, and I should just abstain from it and forego the truth just to keep that person comfortable. But in my heart and my soul, that does not sit right with me. At the end of the day, the truth is the truth, no matter your relation to it. Words of my son Junior. I think you only really a good man if you tell the truth, and you only really live in life to the fullest if you tell the truth. And to tell somebody the truth, despite how it would make them feel, is the highest form of love. And one of the worst feelings is when you keep it real with somebody and they get offended by it. And it takes a toll on your relationship. At least for me, but that's the type of stuff you gotta take on a hop, because it's like, I gotta tell the truth, yo. It's a question I ask myself all the time. Some of my beliefs that I hold work against me being able to properly provide for my family. And I ask myself, what is more integral for you to be a man? Being able to provide or standing on your beliefs? Because more often than not, those two conflict. But to deny the truth, to me, no matter how you look at it, is forsaking God. That's about it for today, y'all. I yapped for a long time. I wanted to talk real quick about the culture thing. You know, today's art not reflecting the culture is not an end-all be-all, because I see a shift. I see that people are starting to gravitate away from the prevalent pop culture. You know, it's been popular for the past maybe 2, 3, 4 decades, but particularly right before COVID and around COVID. Because I think the struggle out here is getting too real, too undeniable. And people are starting to see how frivolous all that stuff that they're talking about in music is, and how far from their reality it is. I think what people are really looking for is relatability. Relatability because people don't know what to do. And not that I can give any answers to anybody, because I myself don't know what to do. But at the very least, I could tell y'all that we in this together. And I'm starting to see a lot of other channels like that pop up that people are starting to gravitate towards. And the good thing about everything that's going on in this country right now is that there's one, matter of fact, 2 simple solutions that no bills that they pass can surmount. No lobbying, no politics, nothing. It's community and love. It's that simple. Community has always been the answer. The fact that everybody's out here trying to fend for themselves doesn't make any sense. I think that's the prisoner's dilemma. Let me read y'all the prisoner's dilemma real quick. The prisoner's dilemma is a game theory thought experiment involving 2 rational agents, each of whom can either cooperate for mutual benefit or betray their partner for individual gain. The dilemma arises from the fact that while defecting is rational for each agent, cooperation yields a higher payoff for each. The puzzle was designed by Merrill Flood and Melvin Drescher in 1950. That's not even important. They can either cooperate for mutual benefit or betray their partner for individual gain. And do y'all know what everybody did more often than not? Betrayed their partner for individual gain, thinking that'll get them further, but they could cooperate and get a more grander prize. That's what all of life is. If y'all never read this book, thank God I said this so I can remember this. Y'all have to read this book right here. You have to. Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. $7, bro. This book is everything. This is a man who just sat and thought and just put the human experience on paper beautifully, is the only word I can really think of. So community and love, and there's power in community. And if we all just stick together, everything's gonna be okay. Because, you know, while you're going through a struggle and you're going through pain that connects everybody, you can find some comfort. And, you know, just knowing that somebody is on this path with you definitely makes you feel better. You don't feel so stranded and helpless. Somebody said something that I heard really nice earlier. It says, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all things will be added unto you. So just seek God and you'll get whatever you want. And lastly, the only obstacle that you got is your mind. Your mind is processing everything in this outside world. Your mind is processing everything in this outside world. So anytime you're feeling fear, anytime that you feel helpless, anytime that you feel doubt, it's only your mind that you have to beat. And remember that faith and doubt reside in the same room. So the fact that you feel in doubt means that there's space for faith. You know, you do what you want with that information. But it's definitely looking hopeful out here. I was talking to this lady the other day, and she told me she was from Fiji. And when she was 35, out the blue, her job moved her to Alaska. And that made me ask her if the weather had any effect on her while she was out there, being that Fiji is tropical, and we already know about Alaska. And she said not at all. She actually enjoyed it. Because when it's snowing, she skis. And when it's hot, she surfs. As people, we have a tendency to wish that our situation was different and sell ourselves this lie. If we had a different set of circumstances, then we will be able to achieve our goals. I don't even think I need to over-intellectualize why you shouldn't do that. That's just not what it is. And in hindsight, we always look back and realize that we could have done something with those circumstances. And usually, the belief that we can't do something with our circumstances is just an excuse. There's no utility in complaining. Complaining is just a waste of time. And usually when you look back, you're gonna realize you could have done a lot with your circumstances. I understand sometimes we don't know what to do. We don't know what direction to work in. But you always got the option to work on yourself. Coincidence exists. Opportunities pop up when you least expect them. So just work. You always want to be the person who's ready.